I have recently spent 3 hours playing Atomic Heart, an action-adventure game developed by Mundfish. I started playing the game on the medium difficulty, but you will quickly know why I switched to easy. In this video, I want to share my experience and give a detailed review of the gameplay. Starting off, the game had a long-winded walking section. God, why? Dialogue scenes and cutscenes were everywhere, and it took me a whopping 27 minutes to get into the real gameplay. Right from that point onward, enemies felt like mere meat shields, taking many hits to take down. The axe, your primary weapon, was slow, but I was optimistic about future upgrades to boost its power and speed. However, as you will soon see, this optimism was short-lived. The ability to pull yourself up to almost any surface felt odd. It felt like I was going to go out of bounds any second now. Funny enough, I actually saw the out of bounds because I got pushed by a robot. Now, let's talk about looting. God, the looting system was just frustratingly bad. The game requires you to hold down the F key to loot while using WASD to move around. I'm using mouse and keyboard because this is a first-person shooter, so I expect them to know to not to do that. A lot of effort could have been saved by having a better loot system in place. And sure, you can rebind keys, but a game should be intuitive out of the box. Like mentioned before, the white robots were just bullet sponges, doing massive damage and taking a lot to put down, and they all look the same. Other robots could fly, which made melee combat difficult or even impossible in some situations. Yes, you can use your axe and hit upwards, but you never know if the range is going to work out, you're just pretty much guessing. The game does have a skill tree and upgrades, but the looting system makes gaining power a chore rather than a pleasure. Not only because holding the F key sucks, but also if you kill an enemy, which you need to do if you want to get a certain type of loot, their body usually spreads across the floor, and now you have to find the loot in the right body part. So for example, if a robot breaks apart in 6 pieces, you have to check all 6 pieces if you see any icon and then hold F towards it. This is so monumentally dumb. I have no idea how no one who tested the game thought, hey, how about we use some sort of AoE loot system? How about an accessibility option that picks up loot for you? This may be a little bit too easy, I understand that, but the current system doesn't work, so you need to fix it. Going back to the upgrades, they just lack transparency, only showing vague progress bars or text like "do more damage" without any clear numbers. One major gripe I have is that some animations are also way too long to actually get into the menu to upgrade my stuff. This just takes away from the fun gameplay you could potentially have, but you're stuck in long loading screens or long menus with fancy animations. Dismantling things is another unclear feature. You must dismantle items one by one instead of having the option to select multiple items and dismantle them together. I found myself not using this feature because of exactly that, because it's just tedious, but also it doesn't even tell me what I can do with the dismantled things I get out of it. A tiny tutorial or a tiny screen telling me if you dismantle this, you get item X and Y, and these can be used for X and Y. This would have solved so much and would have made the whole system way more transparent. Now, the abilities. The shock ability proved to be useless against robots. Just barely, it's kind of like annoying them a little bit when you zap them. And the freeze ability, I never used that one because apparently if you freeze an enemy, it makes them take less damage. Remember when I was talking about they have too much health? Yeah, cool, so I freeze them and they are tankier now? Technically, no, they aren't tankier, but they feel more tankier, they take more hits. Who came up with this? Now, moving a little bit ahead, the game gives you a new ranged weapon, or a blueprint of the ranged weapon technically. This was the saving grace, given that shotgun ammo is incredibly scarce. Moving away from weapons and upgrades, the puzzles in the game felt more like a nuisance than a challenge. I was probably an absolute dumbass doing the wall puzzle, but it just felt like, alright, time to move some things around because I can't be bothered learning this. And then the door lock puzzles were just roadblocks. That's all they were. They literally stopped progress for no reason. It just felt like they added those just to make the game longer. Because if you spread 50 of them across the entire game, they might not be so noticeable. But each of them probably costs you like 45 seconds to a minute. That's like nearly an hour you're just doing those stupid door lock puzzles. Speaking of weird gameplay, the boiler cooling mission was another point where the control scheme felt awkward. Can you guess why it felt awkward? Yes, you have to hold F and move with WASD. I swear to God, has nobody tested this? And also, for some reason, the control slowed to a crawl, which just wasn't fun. Speaking of not fun and slow AF, standing on a moving platform waiting to press V. I'm not joking when I'm saying this, but I'm editing this video in 3x speed and it still feels too slow. On the positive side, I appreciate that the game allows you to reset skills and encourages experimentation. And you know it's coming, but I'm a simple player. I like to stick to a few attacks and improve them as I go. This game doesn't really cater to that playstyle, but I understand that's more of a personal preference. I mean, this entire video is subjective. Now, having gone through all this, I am now stuck in this elevator for 2.5 minutes looking at this pretty wood texture, but still, why developers? I understand you probably want some no loading screen thing and, you know, want to be special, but literally standing there for a straight minute and not having anything to do in a video game is awful. Literally fade out, use my entire GPU, CPU, and RAM power to load up the next scene, and let's go. And now we transition to the open world part of the game, where things really started to go downhill. I found myself swarmed by enemies from every angle. Robots with cameras alerted more enemies to my location, and I couldn't destroy the robot houses, leaving me with no way to control the area I'm in. So 1, these robots endlessly respawn. 2, the robots they are alerting are weird sawmill guys, which are, yes, tankier and deal more damage than the previous robots. And no, I still haven't found a better weapon. And no, I can't craft it, because the game doesn't give me enough loot, because I think the game wants you to repeat and farm enemies over and over and over, so you can get the infinite loot. But that isn't fun. Hitting the enemies over and over isn't fun. And second, because of the looting problem I explained probably 6 times by now. I feel so bad doing this, but I ended up skipping everything. You can see in the gameplay right now, I was just running past everything because I just didn't care. I just started to lose interest in actually playing the game. The enemies were too tough, the loot felt kind of useless, picking up the loot was dumb, and in the end it's just pretty much chugging health potions over and over and over to actually keep myself alive. Which I also don't know if you can buy, by the way. I thankfully never ran out of them, but I also wouldn't know what to do if I did run out of them. I guess I would just be fricked. The mission to go to the train station and get a ticket was just more of the same tedium. I found myself skipping through the dialogue, hoping there would be some redeeming factor to the gameplay. But sadly, no. The frustrating looting system was the final straw. I finally hit Alt F4 and uninstalled the game. So, what's the verdict? Atomic Heart has an interesting concept and setting, but the execution is where it falls short. The long-winded walking sections at the start, tedious looting system across my 3 hours, and lackluster combat made the gameplay feel more like a chore than an enjoyable experience. The lack of variety in enemy design, unclear upgrade system, and frustrating frustrating controls further detract from the experience. There were moments where I started to enjoy myself and get a feeling of this game, but it was quickly stopped by another stupid door puzzle or long cutscene. In terms of gameplay, I'm afraid I can't give Atomic Heart more than a 3 out of 10. It's a game that could have been so much more, but it just misses the mark in too many areas for me personally. If you are interested in trying it out yourself, the game has a demo on Steam, so I highly recommend giving it a try. Let me know in the comments down below what your experience was, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, see you next time, and have a great day.